All right. It's Kevin Garcia, a.k.a. the Puerto Rican Kid KG, and today in front of me I have the one and the only Chris Algieri. Chris, look, it's a hot topic in boxing, and I'm sure fans want to hear your thoughts, especially on this topic. I'm sure you received a lot of crap. We saw the whole eat crow stuff right after Ryan's win. You owned up to it. You gave him his credit. But now, the news cycle never stops. And the latest topic, of course, is that Ryan potentially popped hot. He had PEDs in his system. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think there's still a lot more information that we need before we come to a final conclusion about this, and this is going to take weeks to months. We may never even really know. At the end of the day, though, objectively, the drugs are in his system, and as a fighter, as an athlete, it's your duty to make sure that whatever you put into, you're responsible for whatever you put into your body, and you are held accountable. Accountability is a big thing when it comes to drug testing, and especially in a sport like ours that's so dangerous. So what's going to we need to figure out is whether he did it intentionally or if it was accidental, because there's different ways to deal with it. Then, if it's intentional. If you go by Nowitzki in the UFC for Osterine, you're looking at a 2-year ban. That's a long time. And if it was unintentional and it was a tainted supplement or an accidental ingestion or something like that, you're looking at a much shorter ban, 6 months, which really in this modern day fight, not really that long, not that big of a deal. Obviously, that record is going to change. It's going to be a no contest, so you take away that win. And there could be some fines involved. So how it's dealt with, I think, is we still have a lot more to there's going to be a lot more developing news before we figure that out. But really, until we know for sure, I can't really speak that much about about it and about intent matters in these kind of situations. This is a very, very dangerous sport, and to take those kinds of drugs, very dangerous. Those are serious PEDs. This is the ones that were found in Ryan's system. We need to find out how much was in the system and for how long before you make any of those final conclusions. But again, I think this is going to be an ongoing news story that's going to keep developing and rolling as time goes on.
Yeah, it does feel very like ... right? So yeah. I don't think anybody definitively can say anything either way. But since you brought it up, I'm just curious because I definitely probably would even get a D- as a WebMD. So I wouldn't even go there. But what do you know about this PED that you can share with us?
Okay, so there's two that showed up in Ryan's failed test for the night before and the day after the fight. Osterine is the main one. Osterine is a SARM, which is a selective androgen receptor modulator. Now that has a ton of benefits for athletes. So it was originally developed for medicinal use for like people with cancer and wasting syndrome who were losing a lot of weight and couldn't maintain their lean tissue. So it's a slight anabolic that allows, it's anti-catabolic really, and it allows you to maintain muscle tissue, which is really good for a fighter, because you're cutting weight, you're in a caloric deficit as you're making weight, and you're able to maintain muscle tissue. Because when you lose weight, you don't just lose fat, you lose muscle as well. So with something like that, when you're taking a SARM, that it's going to maintain that muscle tissue. And if you think of the name, selective androgen, selective, it selects a specific target tissue. So for this particular one, it's muscle tissue, it's tendon tissue, and it's bone tissue. So it's selectively attaching the androgen receptors of those tissues, which again, very good for an athlete. If you take an androgenic steroid, like a traditional bodybuilding type steroid, which is what the other one was, the Nandrolone, that is like a testosterone bomb. It hits every tissue in your body. That's why you have so many organ problems when you take large doses of those kinds of androgenic steroids, anabolic steroids, excuse me. That's why you get liver toxicity. That's why your heart grows. So these SARMs don't really do that. They have a lot less side effects, which makes them safer for the athlete, but also makes them very dangerous for your opponent. Because in this sport, if you got harder bones, stronger tendons, and even stronger muscle tissue, and you're able to cut weight more efficiently and get leaner, yeah, it's a very dangerous thing to go into a ring like that where you're fighting someone who's not enhanced. So this is a very, very serious issue, and those two drugs, like I said, they're very high-powered PEDs.
Yeah, so I think it's safe to say, or fair to say, that it definitely could have helped him win that fight.
Well, listen, if he was using it, absolutely. Especially from what we saw from him, he looked. He's always been powerful. And obviously he didn't make weight, so there's always that. So not only is he a natural puncher and the bigger man, he didn't make weight. And then if it turns out that he was actively using drugs, it really makes this situation that much more heavy. But again, we don't know yet. So only time will tell. It's unfortunate how the news can change from such a positive thing for the sport. Ryan was getting so much good attention, getting mentioned by the WFAN, or getting mentioned on podcasts that you would never think would talk about boxing, and then now we get this. So I've said this a few times already in a couple different shows. Boxing never ceases a chance to give itself a black eye.
Yeah. Last question surrounding this topic. Last question in general. I know you've been working all day. Appreciate you, Chris. So, I mean, I think most people think the obvious answer is one way, but what's just your take on it? Does this, if it's true, what does this do, or does this tarnish Ryan's legacy?
I don't know. Ryan's carving his own path and his own legacy, and he's kind of like a what's the term? Like a cringe lord at this point. Like he's using social media at such an expert level, and carving his own way and doing everything his own path. The drinking beer on the scale, which we heard later was fake. Like, he's doing his own thing, and
the petting the pill bottle yesterday.
Yeah. I mean, he's definitely doing his own tactics to get himself out there. And listen, it's working. The crossover fans are still ravenously following him and protecting him. So I don't know. I don't know if it affects his legacy. I don't know what his legacy is going to be anyway. He's so young and he has so much to do, and he's so talented. Honestly, at the end of the day, I don't think this is, unfortunately, even if it is to turn out to be, what it looks like, I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal. I mean, this is boxing, man. This kind of stuff gets swept under the rug all the time. The biggest athletes in our sport have popped at one time and whatever, and we don't really talk about it. It's one of those ugly parts of this dirty business. It's unfortunate. But man, it is what it is. This is boxing, man. It's I always say it's the best sport in the world, worst business.
Wow, I think that's really well put. Thank you, Chris, for your time here on Fight Hype today.
Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. We out.